I disagree that they're playing with house money now. As soon as you pay your quarterback what you paid your quarterback, it stops being house money. That comes with expectations, and you better perform. I'm fine with the line where it is. Philly was 8-1 at home. When you look at it, Nick Sirianni's undefeated after a bye, and really last week was a bye, so they have that benefit as well. And then going into this, Philly's won 3 in a row, and then Green Bay's luck. They don't have the momentum. Green Bay doesn't have the momentum like they had last year, and I think collectively Philly is a much not a much sounder team, but a sound enough team comparatively to merit the extra point that you'd normally get for a home playoff.
Yeah, I do shocked by it. I think Philly's better across the board. They're at home. The Packers just lost a game to the Bears they wanted to win.
Yeah.
Their quarterback was out for half the game too.
I understand that piece of it, but they also they were playing. If Philly's quarterback was out this past week.
And when they played Washington, they lost.
And so I just think Philly's a better team that's at home. And where I disagree with Brew on the house money piece of it is, Green Bay, this would be a step back. Green Bay was the 7th seed last year and blew a team out in round one.
And an expensive step back.
The step back has been.
They brought in free agents.
Yeah, the regular season was a step back. Where we're at now, though, they're not expected to win this.
They weren't expected to win in Dallas last year.
Right. So, like, last year was kind of was totally surprising what they did. This year, the regular season was a step back. But I don't think anybody, if they obviously want to win and think they can win, but I don't think they're going to, I don't view it as a step back. I mean, technically, yeah, but.
I just haven't seen any evidence that Green Bay is of the class of the Eagles.
When they played, it was the first game of the year, but Green Bay led at halftime. Green Bay led in the third quarter, and they
played
lost
a lot of these great teams close, but they always lose.
But there's also 3 uncharacteristic turnovers by the Eagles that led to 12 points.
Right.
So it led to so there were 3 field goals, and then they really lost a field goal because one of the fumbles was in the red zone. So and giveaway takeaway, they've been pretty good. I just wonder if Nick Sirianni, if they do lose, does he get fired?
Yeah. And again, that's a different discussion, which that's why I split these videos up into 2, one about the Eagles, one about the Packers, because to try to put it all in one conversation would be just too messy from my viewpoint. But I really want to speak on this whole idea that this is a step back for the Packers, because I don't see it that way. And I had high hopes and high predictions for the Green Bay Packers this season. I was like, before the season ever started, I made this claim, I think in July or something, that I was like, I think Jordan Love will be a MVP candidate and the Packers will be a Super Bowl contender, right? And I was like, originally my mentality was kind of anything short of an NFC Championship game, if you're a Packers fan, you would be upset, and should be upset to a large degree. But it's tough because it's I don't try to put those floors on teams because it's there's a lot of good teams this year. You have the Eagles, you have the Lions, the Vikings, in the AFC, it's the Ravens, the Bills, the Chiefs. So I just don't think it's fair when there's enough good teams to go around. You might have to face a really good team earlier on in the playoffs. And so it's okay, so I mean, the Packers having to face the Eagles in the first round is a really brutal matchup. It's a lot easier to get to the next round if you're playing the Rams, the Buccaneers, the Commanders, a different team. But having to face a top team in the NFL, a team that could have easily been the number 1 seed, make no mistake about it. The one real loss that they truly had was against the Buccaneers, and they had a lot of bad injuries. They missed their wide receiver 1 and their wide receiver 2. And they were playing in the hottest game ever. And that's really hard to rely on your running back on the run game when it is it was 106 degrees out. And again, it was just a disaster from the get-go. But the other games, the Eagles lost to the Commanders when Jalen Hurts went down. Jalen Hurts was no longer playing. And not to mention, they still could have won that game. But Devontae just dropped an easy pass that he just dropped. And then against the Falcons, the Eagles, Saquon Barkley just dropped the ball. They didn't get beat in those moments. Those were just unfortunate errors at the wrong time. They just literally drop the ball. It's just a numbers game. Like you're gonna drop the ball one of these easy passes eventually. It just happens. No one's 100%. So the Eagles easily could have had the number 1 seed. Like that's a real thing. You're not cooking the books there. It wasn't like a tough, gritty game that they just lost, and you're like, well, if only they caught it. No, like it was their game to have, clearly. And now the Packers have to face that team while they're not 100%. Jordan Love is banged up. Watson's gone. Alexander's gone. Like these are real things. So I think it's unfortunate. Jordan Love was banged up throughout this season. Do you think this team took a step forward? No. Did this team take a step backwards, even if they technically have less success in terms of playoff? They go further last year than this year? No, because it's different circumstances. Playing the Dallas Cowboys first round was a gift, because that was not a team that deserved to be in the spot that they were in, because they weren't a good team. I said that all last year. The Dallas Cowboys were in fool's gold. The Dallas Cowboys were fool's gold. The Philadelphia Eagles are real gold. Like, that's the difference. And again, I praise the Green Bay Packers for walloping the Dallas Cowboys. So I'm not taking anything away from that win. That was a wildly impressive win, and was one of the most entertaining games I've ever watched in my entire life. And I truly mean that. That was one of the craziest games I've ever watched. I mean, like, I was laughing the entire time because it was so wild what the Green Bay Packers did to the Dallas Cowboys, and how jarring and shocking it was, and how all season I had to listen to everyone tell me that the Dallas Cowboys are the best team and they're going to go to the Super Bowl. Nick Wright said that Dak Prescott's the Super Bowl. They're Super Bowl bound, and Dak Prescott is the MVP, should be the MVP. Like, I had to listen to all that nonsense, only for the Green Bay Packers to be like, what? Get out of here. But the way how this season unfolded was unfortunate. They did make moves to try to push them forward, to take another step forward, which would have then been an NFC Championship game or, a Super Bowl appearance. They dealt with injuries throughout the season, especially to their quarterback and other weapons, both offensively and defensively. They played in a brutally difficult division with the Detroit Lions and the Minnesota Vikings. So those games are hard to come by. And then, here you are. Now you're a bottom seed having to go up against the Eagles. That's a tough spot. It's a tough spot. The Eagles got to beat up on the Cowboys, the Commanders with a rookie quarterback, and the Giants with no quarterback. That helps out the Eagles. The Buccaneers got to beat up on a terrible division. They got to win the division with 9 wins or something, 10 wins, I forget what it was, but it ended up being not a lot. So it's like the Packers were in the toughest division. Easily the toughest division. And again, the Packers are clearly not playing their best ball. You can't argue that. So if this was 100% in a vacuum, and you were just like, how did the Packers play? Did they play better last year or this year? You would say they played better last year. And you would say, okay, so then isn't that a step backwards then? And I would still argue no, because of the circumstances and how they unfolded for the Green Bay Packers this year. And I also get Mangini's like, hey man, you paid your quarterback. Now you're not playing with house money. Because I disagree with Brew. They're not playing with house money. That I agree with what Mangini and Nick are saying in that regard. They're not playing with house money. But I also don't think, though, that it's a step back either. That's this capitalistic framework where it's like, unless you do more sales, unless you make more money than you did last year, you fail. It's bad. It's a down year. You're never allowed to just kind of stay around the same for a capitalist business model. It's why they're constantly trying to do more. And I get it, but sports is not linear. This idea that there's a step back. The Kansas City Chiefs won a Super Bowl the one year and then didn't win a Super Bowl the following year. Is that a step back? Do the Kansas City Chiefs step back? Or can they just not win every single year? It's just not the way it goes. So I think when you use words like that, use language like that, it's too misleading. And it doesn't tell the whole story. Should a Packers fan, if they lose this game, should they be disappointed with how this season unfolded? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But there was just too many things out of their control, combined with them not overcoming those things, which is a real thing, that you're just like, this team does need to get better. This team does need to maybe, improve the quality of this roster. Jordan Love does need to take a step forward. He got paid. He's the quarterback. You want to see him play better ball. You also want to see him stay healthy. So, yeah, this will be a more complicated Packer season to kind of unpack and really reflect on. And it's hard to do that because it's not over yet. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of just want to wait and see how this all ends. Whether it ends on Sunday or whether it ends in the weeks ahead. I think then it'll be a little bit easier to kind of evaluate and see kind of what we saw here. Because what if the Eagles still win this game, but Jordan Love balls out? He throws for 350 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown. For whatever reason he gets in there. Like, are you going to say that, this was a bad season for Jordan Love? Or are you going to be like, nah, man, Jordan Love proved that he continues to step up in the playoffs. He's a big-time player, big gamer. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, there's still more to learn about this. And listen, if he goes out there and lays an egg or doesn't play good, you could be like, he was missing weapons. Like, it's like, what do you want him to do in this situation? And it's like, I'm a defender. I defend these top quarterbacks when the pieces around them aren't there. I'm not the person that just says, if you're a great quarterback, if you've paid, you got to find a way. That's always been a false narrative to me. And it's more impressive when a quarterback finds a way through that fire than when another quarterback can't find his way through that fire. What I take issue is when people try to act like only great quarterbacks do that, and any quarterback that doesn't do that is now bad. Or again, and it's like this will always be a moving target. It is never binary. It is never, if you're great and special, you find a way. It's like you find a way every time, every single time, some of the time, most of the time, more often than not, occasionally. Like, it's like, what's the story here then? I also think that Jordan Love, considering his style of play, he is more reliant on the roster around him than a Josh Allen, a Lamar Jackson. I've said that about a few quarterbacks this season. Jordan Love is more pocket passer than this hyper-mobile, physical, fast quarterback. And in that situation, you're going to be more reliant on the people, on the pieces around you. You're going to be more reliant on your O-line. You're going to be more reliant on your weapons, on your wide receivers. You're going to be more reliant on being able to establish the run game outside of you. You can't rush for 100 yards like Lamar or Josh or Jalen. So it just changes kind of what a quarterback can do in any given situation when facing specific adversity. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Green Bay Packers and Jordan Love? Do you think if they lose, this would be a step back for them? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.